Remember the biggest Autobot sacrifices? Optimus Prime's death in 1986, Ironhide's betrayal, Jazz torn in half. These moments are etched into Transformers history, replayed, mourned, remembered. But what about the others? The Autobots who gave everything, their sparks, their futures, their very existence in moments that were buried beneath more dramatic headlines, forgotten in the chaos of war, or simply never given the spotlight they deserved. Today, we're excavating 5 heartbreaking Autobot sacrifices that changed everything. But somehow, we all forgot. A price too high, the opening salvo of loss. Sacrifice 5, Prowl, Brawn, Ratchet, and Ironhide's shuttle, Ambush. The 1986 Transformers movie is remembered for one death, Optimus Prime. His battle with Megatron, his final words, the passing of the Matrix. This is what burned into collective memory. But before Optimus fell, before the Battle of Autobot City even reached its climax, 4 of his most trusted warriors were already dead. Prowl, Brawn, Ratchet, Ironhide. 4 Autobots aboard a shuttle, carrying precious energon back to Earth, ambushed by Decepticons who intercepted their transmissions. The scene is brutal in its efficiency. Megatron boards the shuttle, and within seconds, these veterans of millions of years of war are gunned down like they were nothing. No heroic last stands, no final words, just death, sudden and absolute. What makes this sacrifice heartbreaking and forgotten is how casually it's presented. The movie needed to clear roster space for new toy line, so these characters were eliminated in montage fashion, their bodies literally shown as background decoration during Autobot City's defense. Prowl, the tactical genius. Brawn, the tough-as-nails minibot. Ratchet, the medic who saved countless lives. Ironhide, Optimus's oldest friend and weapons specialist, all reduced to cannon fodder in service of plot momentum. Their sacrifice wasn't tactical brilliance or heroic choice, it was ambush, plain and simple. But that's precisely what makes it devastating. War doesn't always provide opportunities for heroism. Sometimes it just takes, quickly and without ceremony, and the survivors have to continue fighting while stepping over their fallen. The emotional impact on audiences was immediate. If these established characters could die this easily, no one was safe. Yet somehow, their deaths became footnotes to Optimus's more dramatic exit. We remember the Prime. We forgot the 4 who fell first. They died in the opening act. So quickly we didn't have time to mourn, and by the end, we'd forgotten to. More than meets the eye. Unsung heroes and their final acts. 4. Sparkplug Witwicky's ultimate gift. Energon Universe Comics. Sometimes, the most profound sacrifices come not from warriors, but from the humans who stood beside them. Sparkplug, Sparky Witwicky Vietnam veteran, mechanic, and father, represents something rare in Transformers lore. A human whose sacrifice actually mattered at cosmic scale. In Daniel Warren Johnson's Energon Universe Comics, Sparky's journey is defined by trauma, a war veteran haunted by his experiences. His first encounter with Transformers triggers violent PTSD response. He sees only machines of war, not potential allies. His fear and rage lead to tragedy, ordering his VFW friends to fire on the Autobots, resulting in his own son Spike being shot in the crossfire. It's through this horror that Sparky finally recognizes the Autobots. For what they are, not weapons, but warriors carrying the same scars he does. The climax comes when Optimus Prime falls in battle, mortally wounded, attempting to pass the matrix of leadership but failing. The artifact dropping to the ground as his systems fail. The Autobots face extinction. Earth faces conquest. And in this moment of absolute despair, Sparkplug Witwicky makes a choice that defies everything we thought we knew about human Cybertronian relationships. He steps into the matrix itself, a human, organic, and fragile, giving his life energy, his very existence, to power the artifact that could save both species. It's not a warrior's death in glorious combat. It's a father, a veteran, a man who finally found cause worth dying for, choosing to burn his remaining years in single instant so that others, human and transformer alike, might live. The sacrifice is shocking because it rewrites fundamental rules. The Matrix was always Cybertronian artifact, meant for primes, not humans. Sparkplug's death proves that heroism transcends species, that the willingness to sacrifice for others is universal language. Yet this moment, this human who became more than ally, who became fuel for salvation itself, remains largely unknown outside comic readers. We talk about Optimus's resurrections. We forget the human whose spark made one of them possible. A human father gave his life to save a mechanical god. We remember the god. We forgot the father, the weight of leadership. Sacrifices from the top. 3. Jetfire's final transformation. Revenge of the Fallen. Jetfire was ancient when most Transformers were still being forged, a seeker from the age of primes. Explorer who mapped stars before war consumed everything. By the time we meet him in Revenge of the Fallen, he's damaged relic, held together by spare parts and willpower, hiding in the Smithsonian, bitter about the war that stole his purpose, and transformed exploration into endless conflict. His character arc is criminally brief, but emotionally dense. Jetfire was Decepticon once, not by ideology, but by assignment, forged in an era when factions meant job descriptions rather than opposing philosophies. When he recognized what the Decepticons had become, he defected, choosing conscience over allegiance. This makes him perhaps the most principled character in the Bayverse. He switched sides, not for power or survival, but because he couldn't stomach what his faction represented. When the Fallen threatens Earth and Optimus Prime lies dead, killed by Megatron, Jetfire faces the reality that his ancient frame is more liability than asset. He can barely transform, barely fly, barely function, but he possesses something Optimus needs: power, parts, the potential to create warriors strong enough to defeat primordial evil. So, Jetfire makes calculation that defines his entire character: tactical self-sacrifice. I want to show you something before I go. He teleports the team to Egypt. And then, without hesitation, without extended farewells, Jetfire rips out his own spark and offers his components to Optimus. Take my parts, and you will have power you've never known. Fulfill your destiny. His death gives Optimus the upgrade needed to defeat the Fallen, literally tearing himself apart so that younger generation might survive. What makes this sacrifice heartbreaking is its rushed execution in the film. Jetfire's death happens quickly, efficiently, treated more as plot mechanism than emotional climax. We don't get extended mourning scene. We don't see Optimus grappling with accepting this gift. One moment Jetfire is alive. Next moment he's components being integrated into Jetfire Prime Hybrid. The film prioritizes spectacle over substance. Optimus needed to look cool fighting the Fallen, so Jetfire had to die to enable that visual. But for those who recognized what was lost, Jetfire's sacrifice represents profound tragedy. millennia of accumulated wisdom, experience spanning the age of primes, perspective that could have guided Autobots through countless future conflicts, all extinguished in single selfless moment. He deserved better than convenient death for power-up. He deserved to survive, to mentor, to finally find peace after eons of war. Instead, he got quick exit so the fight scene could be more dramatic. Jetfire gave Optimus the power to win one battle, and robbed the Autobots of wisdom that could have won the war. Beyond the battlefield, personal stakes and ultimate devotion. 2. Quay, also known as Wheeljack's execution, Dark of the Moon. Some deaths hurt, not because of their scale, but because of their intimacy. The specific, personal horror of watching someone helpless, pleading, and ultimately executed while begging for mercy. Kay, called Wheeljack in some continuities, was Autobot inventor, the cue to Optimus's bond, the scientist whose gadgets and weapons kept the team equipped and operational. He wasn't frontline warrior. He was support specialist, more comfortable in workshop than battlefield, contributing through innovation rather than combat prowess. During the Battle of Chicago in Dark of the Moon, Kay and Bumblebee are captured by Decepticons. Shockwave, cold, logical, merciless, orders their execution. Prisoners lined up, weapons aimed. And in these final moments, Kay does something that shatters audiences. He begs, not with dignity, not with defiant final words. He pleads for his life, tries desperately to appeal to some hypothetical good in the Decepticons, argues that surely they don't have to do this, that there must be another way. It's uncomfortable to watch. We want our heroes to die bravely, defiantly, not scared and desperate. But Quay's terror is precisely what makes his death so devastating. It's honest. This is what execution looks like. This is how most beings face death, not with acceptance, but with desperate hope that somehow, impossibly, it might be avoided. The Decepticons shoot him anyway. Once through the chest, once through the back. Kay falls, and Bumblebee, forced to watch, restrained, helpless, can only whisper through his radio, "Goodbye, my old friend." That line, delivered with Bumblebee's characteristic vulnerability, transforms Quay's death from shock moment into genuine tragedy. We feel Bumblebee's grief, his helplessness, his rage at being forced to witness his friend's execution. What makes this sacrifice forgotten is that Kay was never major character. He had limited screen time, filled support role, wasn't marketed heavily. Casual viewers might not even remember his name. But his death, scared, begging, ultimately futile, represents every Autobot who died. Not heroically, but simply because they were on losing side of specific moment, captured rather than killed in combat, executed rather than fallen in battle. Quay's sacrifice wasn't tactical. It wasn't for the greater good. It was just murder. And sometimes, that's what war is. Not glorious sacrifice, but ordinary people killed for being on wrong side at wrong time. His death reminds us that not every casualty gets heroic ending. Kay didn't die a hero's death. He died scared, begging, and helpless, and that's the sacrifice we least want to remember. The echoes of heroism. Lessons learned and sacrifices remembered. 1. Cliffjumper's repeating tragedy. Across continuities, there's something uniquely cruel about dying not once, but repeatedly across multiple realities, each iteration robbing you of potential before you can achieve it. This is Cliffjumper's curse. The Autobot, who exists to die, whose primary narrative function across continuities is to be sacrificed, usually within minutes of introduction, to establish stakes or demonstrate villain threat. In Transformers Prime, Cliffjumper, voiced initially by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is introduced as capable warrior, charismatic and confident. Then, within the series premiere, he's captured, murdered, his corpse reanimated with dark energon, and destroyed again by his own teammates who are forced to kill the zombie version of their friend. He never got to be character. He was plot device, sacrificed immediately so the show could demonstrate that anyone can die. In the Bumblebee movie, Cliffjumper appears in the Cybertron opening battle and is killed within the first few minutes, ripped apart on screen. His death serving purely to show how brutal the war is. In other continuities, he dies repeatedly, ambushed, executed, blown up, torn apart. His name has become almost synonymous with expendable Autobot, the character who exists to die, so writers don't have to kill someone audiences might actually miss. The tragedy is that Cliffjumper has rich history in deeper lore. In G1, he was Bumblebee's counterpart. Where Bumblebee was cautious and diplomatic, Cliffjumper was aggressive and impulsive, charging into danger. This made him interesting foil, character whose recklessness contrasted with Bumblebee's caution. They were partners, friends, mirror images showing different approaches to heroism. Imagine if Cliffjumper had been allowed to survive past pilot episodes. Imagine his relationship with Bumblebee, developed across seasons. Imagine character arcs exploring whether his aggression was courage or trauma response, whether charging into danger was bravery or death wish. Imagine him learning, growing, becoming beloved character rather than recurring sacrifice. All of this potential exists in character design and is extinguished within minutes every time he appears. What makes Cliffjumper the #1 forgotten, heartbreaking sacrifice is the meta-tragedy. He's not just sacrificed within stories, but sacrificed by storytelling itself. Writers across continuities decided his function is to die, to be the character whose death doesn't require extensive mourning, because audiences never got time to bond with him. He's perpetual introductory casualty, denied character development across entire franchise. For fans who recognize this pattern, every Cliffjumper appearance carries dread. How long until they kill him this time? The sacrifice isn't just his life within each story. It's the sacrifice of what he could have been if anyone had given him chance to exist beyond his designated death scene. He deserved better. He deserved to live, to fight alongside Bumblebee for entire series, to prove that small Autobots could be frontline heroes who survive. Instead, he got to be permanent casualty, dying over and over across infinite timelines, always forgotten, because you can't remember someone who was never given chance to be memorable. Cliffjumper's greatest sacrifice wasn't his life, it was his potential, killed repeatedly across continuities, so he could never become the hero he was designed to be. 5 sacrifices. 5 Autobots who gave everything. Prowl, Brawn, Ratchet, and Ironhide in the shuttle ambush. Sparkplug Witwicky stepping into the Matrix. Jetfire tearing out his spark for Optimus. Quay begging for his life before execution. And Cliffjumper, sacrificed repeatedly across every universe. These weren't the famous deaths. They didn't get the merchandising, the memorial episodes, the fan tributes that Optimus Prime or even Ironhide received. They were forgotten, buried beneath more dramatic moments, overlooked because they weren't marketed heavily, or simply repeated so often they became background noise rather than tragedy. But these sacrifices shaped the Autobot ethos as profoundly as any famous death. They demonstrated that leadership means accepting that not everyone gets heroic ending, that human allies can be as brave as any Cybertronian warrior. That ancient wisdom is sometimes traded for immediate tactical advantage. That death in war is often scared and undignified rather than noble, and that some heroes are sacrificed not by their enemies, but by their own narratives, denied the chance to be anything except casualties. The Transformers universe is built on sacrifice. We remember the loud ones, the primes who fall dramatically, the warriors who get final heroic words. But the quiet sacrifices, the forgotten ones, the deaths that served plot rather than character, these matter too. They remind us that not every hero gets remembered, that not every sacrifice is honored, and that the most heartbreaking losses are often the ones we don't even realize we should mourn. These 5 Autobots, and countless others whose sacrifices went unrecorded, whose deaths served functions rather than narratives, deserve to be remembered. Not because their deaths were more heroic than others, but because forgetting them means accepting that some heroes are expendable, that some sacrifices don't count, that only the dramatic deaths matter. They all mattered. And maybe, by remembering them now, we honor the truth that war doesn't discriminate between famous heroes and background warriors. It takes them all, and the least we can do is remember their names. Which forgotten Autobot sacrifice moved you the most? Drop a comment telling us which forgotten sacrifice hit you hardest. Was it K's terrified final moments? Jetfire's selfless transformation? Or Cliffjumper's curse of dying across every timeline? Share your thoughts and help us keep their memory alive. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss when we honor the Transformers who deserved better than they got. Because in this universe, remembering the forgotten might be the greatest tribute we can offer.